So, all right. So we are recording, so we'll take a deep breath. Hi, Pat. Thanks for joining me today. I wanted to chat with you about your involvement in reducing single-use plastic. So as you know, this interview, I will broadcast it on my YouTube channel and also within a Facebook group that I have. So to get us started today, I would just love for you to tell me how you got started in taking some action on the abundance of single-use plastics.
Right. Well, I mean, I was one of those children of don't be a litter bug. And I took that job very seriously as a child. And so I feel like I was always an environmentalist. I was bringing my grocery bags to the grocery store when people would kind of look at you and say, what is she doing? Once upon a time, there was such a thing. But once this previous president became elected, I knew that the environment would be challenged. So I knew I needed to do something more grassroots. And I joined Indivisible, Howard County, and joined the environmental group. And so we did a presentation, like a work group on climate, on the climate crisis, and then that was completed. And then we said, well, what should we do next? And we were literally sitting around my dining room table, and I always had a disdain for plastic bags. And I said, I hate plastic bags and somebody should do something about it. And then we all kind of looked at each other and say, hey, we're somebody. So we started from there and we said, well, what should we do? So we started researching to see a ban versus a fee. And psychologically, I'm a firm believer that in order to change behavior, it has to come from a psychological point. Like just banning it is not going to change behavior. And I feel very strongly that that has to be the focus. You know, this throwaway society was just a marketing campaign that they did very well and it changed behavior. So now we have to reverse all those bad habits. So we found that the fee was the best way to go. So then, but we didn't know we had to go to the state to get that okayed. Our Howard County is unique in some ways in Maryland that we need to go to the state to put a fee on bags. So that was the first bill that we had to do, get what they call an enabling bill that allowed Howard County to put a fee on bags. So that was an extra step in the process. We could have just banned them, going just to the county council, but again, we felt very strongly about that.
Interesting. So the state controls what you can collect revenue for? Is that what it comes down to?
In Howard County, like there are some, like Montgomery County does not have that part of it in its constitution, and so they do have a fee on their bags, but they didn't need an enabling bill. So it's an odd, and it's a pick and choose. I think Baltimore County or Baltimore City, they don't need to go to the state, but other counties do. I don't know the technology behind all that fancy footwork, but yeah, so that was, and everyone told us that it wouldn't pass the first year and it would die, and all this. They were very discouraging, so many people. We just, and I think that's how you have to have that attitude, like you're just going to keep fighting till it gets done. So we were able to pass it the first year. We were able to pass the bag bill at the county level the first year, and now we just had the Plastic Reduction Act passed the first year. So we're really proud of all those accomplishments.
Awesome. So let's get into some of the details on that, because people who are watching this might not understand what we're talking about. So in Howard County, there was a bill passed which creates a fee for use of a single-use plastic bag in retail locations. And I know that that took effect in October. Is that correct?
Correct.
So now that affects all retail businesses. So they are collecting the 5 cents a bag if people choose to use it. And so where does that money go?
Well, we're really proud of that aspect of it too, because that goes to a special fund that is designed for grants for people to if they want to ask for the grant, it has to be in relation to some type of plastic reduction.
Hmm.
So we are actually planning on hoping to apply for the grant, because one thing that we learned from this last bill is that we as environmentalists and the restaurants were frustrated with the amount of single-use plastic that was being used, especially during COVID. And so the only real true answer to that is to have reuse models. And they do have wonderful reuse companies already very successful throughout the United States. So that is our hope, is to get a restaurant or an organization that would partner with us, and we would use that grant money to help a pilot program for a reuse model to get that going in Maryland, in Howard County.
Okay. Well, before we go on to that, how do you feel the fee, the bag fee? How do you feel that that has been received by the public? Are people upset about it? Are they happy about it? Are people complying without much issue? Like both on the consumer and the retailer. How do you think things are going so far?
Right. I mean, most of the stores, the few stores I go into, I do see signage. I do. I am one of those people that if I see somebody with a plastic bag, I'll say, "Excuse me, did they charge you for that bag?" And I did, honestly, just the other day, go into a store. I saw the cashier give the bag without the fee. I asked to speak to the manager, and then I did call. There is a email and a phone number for the finance department. They're in charge of anything that's non-compliant. So I did contact them to tell them that there was non-compliance and they were going to follow up, because any law is only as good as the enforcement. So I would hope that if anyone sees that happening, that they would contact, and they can go to the Live Green Howard website,
Mhm.
and that gives that information with the phone number and an email address if you see anything that isn't in compliance. When we were fighting for the bill, we of course did get many people that were saying it's a regressive tax. It's not fair. People will go to other counties to subvert the 5-cent fee. So and it's all growing pains. I mean, we are in such a crisis with plastic pollution right now. We have to change. This is completely not sustainable. I mean, the statistics I could throw out is really literally frightening. So when you look at that reality compared to a 5-cent fee, I mean, one thing we did do, we had a whole other program sprout out from this, because that was one of the concerns, that other people might not be able to have a bag and it was not fair for them to be charged a fee. So we did T-shirt collections,
Mhm.
and then learned how, and then taught people how to sew a T-shirt into a bag. And there's even a no sew option where you just cut the bottoms and then tie them off. And so if you have an old T-shirt and it can be in really bad shape, and you can still have a bag out of that T-shirt. So there's, that we have to look at those kind of options now.
Yeah.
This throwaway society just has to go away. It has to be reuse. Reuse has to be the future.
I agree completely. So now let's get to the Plastic Reduction Act. Tell us a bit about that.
Right. So these are, again, these nuisance plastics, I like to call them, the straws, the any single use throwaway item that you would get, the condiment packages, the plastic silverware that comes wrapped in plastic. Those are, how many people do you know? So many people have told me anyway that they have a drawer full of ketchup,
Right.
condiment packets, or mustard or soy sauce or whatever. And they didn't even ask for them. And people just throw them in the bag, and here they are, and they collect, and then you throw them out. Literally, they make billions of these condiment packets every year, literally billions, with no market value, no way to recycle them. So every single one of them becomes waste, breaks down into microplastics, ends up easily into the Chesapeake Bay, and makes all kinds of problems, ending up on our dinner plate ending up in our system, where now we're saying that we are consuming at least a credit card worth of plastic a week.
Right. Yeah,
So,
I have heard that.
so that's a very, so why do this? So what this bill does is that it just makes it upon request. So if you want that plastic silverware, you can get it, but they're not just going to throw it in the bag. So if you want
Gotcha.
that condiment packet, you can get it. You just need to do that. Now, one thing it does ban is plastic straws and PLA straws, or bioplastic straws, because bioplastics are a is just another plastic. Even though it's like, oh, this is made from cornstarch. Oh, so that's good. No, chemically speaking, it works exactly like plastic. Those
Mm,
things, when they call them compostable plastic, it's compostable only in an industrial compostable facility. Whereas the temperature has to be, I believe, over 140 degrees for 10 days for it to compost. So that is when most people think of composting, they think of throwing it in the backyard, and it's a good thing. But
right.
plastic compostable is not the same thing. And so that's why it's important to ban that, because that's just a substitution for one problem that will create another problem. So we have
Sure.
to go to truly compostable straws, which are paper straws, or the best solution, of course, is the reusable straws,
Sure.
or no straws, you know.
Right. But for me, we're a milkshake family. Like I
Mhm,
tell
mhm.
everybody, we are a milkshake family. So you need a straw. You just
Yes,
do. So
and there is,
um, yep,
and they have options. Mhm.
yep, absolutely. So the Plastic Reduction Act is aimed at the restaurant industry. So this would both apply to dining in restaurants as well as takeout, correct? So fast
Yes,
food, all of it.
yes, there is an exemption for, not an exemption so much, but a little change in the how it works for drive-throughs. So
Hmm,
what they're going to do is they're going to put the items in for drive-throughs. However, there's going to be signage to tell you that you will be getting it. So in that situation, you would have to ask not to get it.
I see.
But other than
Well,
that,
from a cost perspective, it seems like it would be a positive thing for
mhm,
restaurants because I can
mhm,
imagine that the cost of all of these condiments and disposable items is quite steep. And of course, having been through still in the pandemic situation where lots of restaurant usage is through a takeout model. There's not a lot of dine-in capabilities. And so in order for the restaurant industry to survive, they have
mhm.
had to pivot their own models to shift primarily to takeout and delivery.
Right.
So, I mean, over the years, just like you, I have seen things that have changed, and I've, been the advocate for yes, please don't give this to me if I don't want it or I don't ask for it. So that in itself doesn't seem like a huge change, but it's sort of the because restaurants have shifted to this takeout model. It's kind of we have a problem we didn't have before, as far as now we've got all this stuff being takeout instead of dine in. And so restaurants who are not used to doing that a lot have had to shift gears. And now we're asking them to please reduce the amount of plastic. Um, when the bill was presented, what was the take from the restaurant industry? You said that some of them were quite in favor of this.
Well, we did do a restaurant survey
Mhm.
before, to find out where restaurants were, and we focused on the local restaurants, not the chains, because they have their corporate policies, but just to see what they're doing at a local level. I believe we reached out to 108 restaurants, and of those, 50% were already doing upon request for straws and stirrers and utensils. So it wasn't a heavy lift for them. The restaurant industry did come to the work session and said that they wanted to be able to ask the person if they wanted something. And so it doesn't sound like that would be that much of a big deal one way or the other. But again, it's just like that nickel on the plastic bags. The social norming is so important. So by me asking Do you want that? In your head, that's like, oh, well, that's what people think. So that's what I will do. Like if I wanted to get rid of single-use cups and you came in and you said you wanted a Coke, and I'd say, did you bring your reusable cup? And so immediately that makes you think like, oh, that's what people should be doing. That's what I should be doing. So it's a very subliminal messaging there, but it makes a big difference. So I'm really proud of the fact that the bill sponsor really fought for that. And we do not have that, that it has to be upon request.
So
That if
now,
you
so now the onus is on the customer. And
exactly.
so from a customer standpoint, we will have to sort of change our habits a little
Mhm.
bit and not assume that we're going to get the silverware and the condiments and things like that, and make
Right.
sure to ask.
Right.
But I imagine, just like with the bag fee,
Mhm.
that we are, undergoing some growing pains with that, that
Mhm.
that will change our habits pretty quickly. And with proper signage and things,
Mhm.
it should be pretty quick to learn that we just need to ask for it if we want it.
Right, and the bill doesn't go into effect until January of 2022. So it gives, there's a learning process and there's a learning curve, just like any time you want to change your behavior, they say it takes 30 days. So it is going to be, and we did the same thing with the bag, we gave the signage, we gave the information, people were aware of it. We put articles in the newspaper, so we did what we could to get people aware of what was going on. But yes, I mean, there's always growing pains. It's like, oh darn, I forgot to ask for that, and they have to go back up, So, but those kind of moments are teachable moments, and it helps you remember the next time. So those
Yep,
kind of things will be happening.
I agree completely. So this group that you have been involved with, that has been working on these bills, is rather new. It's less than
Mhm.
what, 3 years old, maybe.
Mhm.
So how big? What size of a group are we talking about that are making these changes happen?
Well, what's interesting about Howard County is that there's so many people in so many groups. So when we want to do something, I reach out to all these other groups. So and we, yeah, so we all just kind of collaborate. So I don't know how many people are actually in, the group. I would guess maybe 30, maybe. Um,
30
but
people.
but when we reach out and ask for people to help, people come from all over. So
Right.
and I'm honestly, I didn't want, I wasn't in this position. The person who should be where I am, she kind of dropped out, but I still really wanted this to happen. So I
Right.
said, well, I'm still going to work on this. So this isn't even my cup of tea. I'm not comfortable in this position, but I want that's how badly I want this to be done, that I'm still
Right.
willing to fight for it.
Well, I'm just impressed that such a small group of people, I mean, relatively small. We have how many? I mean, what is the population of Howard County? You would probably know better than I do.
Yeah,
Uh,
should know.
a million, a couple million? I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's huge. And so
Mhm.
you're talking about a very, very small percentage of people who are um, making those steps in a positive direction to make change. And so
Mhm.
it just goes to show you that you don't have to have a large group of people. You just have to have a small group of people who are passionate about something, who are willing to move forward with it.
I would say
So
that's exactly it. That's exactly it. It's,
that
if you want something done, there's nothing special about me. I'm a nurse by profession. I have no background in this type of thing. It's just something that I saw I thought was ridiculous. Why should we be doing this?
right.
We're talking about our future, and just, as a nurse, the health impacts of plastic scare the life out of me for our generation and for future generations.
Yeah, I
So
agree. And I would love to have you back and talk to you more about some of those impacts of plastic. I'd love to talk to you more about bioplastic, because I think
mhm.
that's an area that a lot of us don't have a lot of information on. And it sounds good, and maybe it's
Mhm.
not as good as we think it is. So I would love to have you back if you're interested in that. If people want to
Anytime.
get in touch with you or connect with the work that you're doing, what's the best way for them to join you? I know you have a Facebook group, right?
I have a Facebook group. It's Less Plastic HOCO. Less Plastic Please HOCO. And they can just look that up. or my email is lessplasticplease.hoco@gmail.com.
Got it. And we'll put those in the comments
Great.
to this video so people can reach out to you.
Great.
Pat, thank you very much for your time. I
You
greatly
bet.
appreciate it. All right.
You bet. Great working with you.